At his only son's wedding, Henry Walters smiled proudly as the guests cheered. But when Ethan raised his glass and said, "My father-in-law paid for everything. My dad didn't do a thing," the applause turned into knives. The words cut deeper than any wound, but destiny was quietly listening. If you believe every act of humiliation finds its justice someday, help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers by subscribing now. Your support keeps these heartfelt true stories alive. Henry Walters, 65, wasn't a rich man, but he was proud of his life's work. For 40 years, he had shaped wood into art, carving stories into every table and chair he made. People in his Seattle neighborhood knew him as the man who could make wood breathe. His hands were rough, his clothes simple, but his heart was kind. He raised his son Ethan alone after losing his wife Claire when Ethan was just 6. Every night, Henry told his boy, "Son, I might not have much, but everything I build for you." As years passed, Ethan grew distant. He wanted big city success, fast money, and shiny suits. Henry was proud but quietly afraid that his son's dreams were cutting away their bond like a dull saw. When Ethan announced his wedding to Laura Lane, the daughter of a wealthy real estate broker, Henry felt both proud and nervous. He wanted to give something meaningful, so he handcrafted an entire dining set for their new home, engraving "Love is built, not bought," on the table's edge. On the wedding day, the ballroom glittered with wealth. Henry's handmade gift looked small beside the golden chandeliers and imported wine. During the speeches, Ethan's words echoed through the hall. "A huge thanks to my father-in-law, who paid for everything. My dad couldn't afford such a wedding." Laughter filled the room. Henry's smile froze. His chest tightened as if someone had carved through his heart. The man who had built everything with his own hands suddenly felt smaller than the floor beneath him. He quietly slipped out of the ballroom, his son's laughter still ringing in his ears. Henry didn't sleep that night. He sat on his porch in Portland, Oregon, staring at the old oak tree his wife had planted decades ago. The night breeze brushed past his wrinkled hands that had once shaped a home, built toys, and held his son through every storm. Now, those same hands trembled, not from age, but from heartbreak. In the morning, Henry returned to his small workshop. The smell of pine, varnish, and sawdust usually comforted him, but today it felt empty. He picked up a photo of Ethan's graduation, his son smiling, Henry standing proudly beside him, and whispered, "You forgot where you came from, boy." Days turned into weeks. Ethan never called. The wedding photo album arrived in the mail, but Henry didn't open it. Instead, he threw himself into work, building furniture for local shops. But inside, something had broken. Not his pride, but his sense of belonging. One afternoon, a man in a suit entered his workshop. "Mr. Walters, we're renovating the Downtown Heritage Hotel," he said. "Your craftsmanship is exactly what we need. Could you handle a full restoration project?" Henry hesitated. It was a huge job, something that could change his life. "How big are we talking?" he asked. The man smiled. "Big enough that you might have to hire a team." For months, Henry worked day and night, putting his soul into every carved beam and polished door frame. His quiet persistence drew attention. A local news outlet featured him. 65-year-old artisan revives Oregon's oldest landmark with timeless skill. The video went viral. Millions admired his dedication, humility, and heart. Offers started pouring in. Soon, a famous interior designer approached him for a collaboration. Within a year, Henry's small workshop became Walters & Sons Artisan Studio, a thriving business employing dozens of craftsmen. Investors lined up, and for the first time, Henry's work was recognized beyond Oregon. Meanwhile, Ethan and Laura's life took a different turn. The luxury company Ethan worked for downsized, and he was laid off. Their expenses grew, debts piled up, and the glamorous lifestyle began to crumble. When Ethan saw his father's face on TV, being honored with Oregon's Artisan of the Year award, He froze. The caption read, "Local woodworker donates $10 million to fund art schools for underprivileged youth." Henry's eyes glistened during the ceremony. He wasn't thinking about revenge. He was thinking about legacy, and how love, when unappreciated, still finds its way to heal through purpose. But life had one more twist in store, one that would bring father and son face to face again, under very different circumstances. 6 months later, Henry was in his studio, guiding apprentices through a new project when he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Dad." He turned slowly. Ethan stood there, thinner, nervous, and clutching a crumpled folder. His eyes, once full of pride, now carried shame. Henry's hands froze mid-air. "Ethan," he said quietly, "what brings you here?" Ethan hesitated, then confessed, "Laura and I, we lost everything. The company went under, and our house is on the market. I didn't know where else to go." The workshop fell silent. The only sound was the soft creak of the wooden floor. Henry looked at his son, the same boy he once taught to hold a chisel, the boy who had said he did nothing at the wedding. Henry took a deep breath and handed Ethan a stool. "Sit down, son. You look tired." Ethan's voice broke. "I'm sorry, Dad, for the wedding, for the words I said. I was stupid, trying to impress people who didn't care about us." Henry didn't respond right away. He walked to a cabinet and pulled out a small, unfinished wooden carving, a model of a tree. "I made this for your wedding gift," Henry said softly, "a symbol of family roots, but I couldn't give it that day." Ethan's eyes filled with tears as he held the carving. "I don't deserve this." Henry placed a hand on his shoulder. "Maybe not then, but maybe now you're ready to understand it. If stories about forgiveness, family, and second chances speak to you, hit that subscribe button. Let's reach our first 1,000 believers in redemption together." Months passed. Ethan started helping at the workshop, sweeping floors, sanding wood, and learning the craft his father had mastered. Slowly, the silence between them turned into conversations, laughter, and healing. Henry watched quietly as Ethan began teaching a younger apprentice. It reminded him of himself years ago. One morning, a journalist returned to do a follow-up story. She asked Henry, "Mr. Walters, after all your success, what's your proudest moment?" Henry smiled and glanced at Ethan across the room. "Right there," he said. "That's my proudest moment." The article that followed went viral again, not because of the $10 million donation, but because of a single line that captured everyone's heart. "Forgiveness builds stronger homes than any fortune ever could." Ethan, now co-owner of the workshop, honored his father's legacy by launching a scholarship in his name, the Henry Walters Artisan Grant. On its launch day, as reporters gathered, Henry leaned over and whispered, "You made your old man proud." "Son," Ethan replied with a trembling smile. "No, Dad. You made me who I am." The two embraced under the same oak tree where it all began, not as broken family, but as two craftsmen of love and redemption. What would you have done if you were in Henry's place? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words inspire our next story.